You Season 4 Part 1 is now out, and a lot of people are theorizing on what could possibly happen in Part 2. And I've seen a bunch of theories, and one theory that has come to my attention is this theory that I'm about to discuss. Credit to Brain Pilot on YouTube and a few other YouTubers I've watched just make theories. One theory that I've seen a lot is that Joe is just gonna like kill Rhys and then see love as a hallucination and then just go crazy off the walls and go back to his old serial killer self. But this theory that I'm about to discuss is basically proving that Joe has never changed and he's still his serial killer self, if that makes any sense at all. Not going to do much of an intro, but if you want to follow my podcast, Popcorn Talks Podcast, like the video, subscribe, join my Discord. That's all I really care about. All that stuff is in the description. Let's get right into it. So this theory is very interesting to me. The theory is that Rhys is a part of Joe's imagination. Sort of. So it makes a lot of sense too. So the basis of the theory is that Rhys is a part of Joe's imagination and that Joe has blamed Rhys for all these killings, but Joe has done all the killings all along. And he's basically just been hallucinating Rhys doing them. So he's convincing himself that he's changed, he's done good, he's not a killer anymore. He's just trying to do what's right. That's the theory. And there's a lot of evidence to back this up, and I'm going to go through them. The first one is that we were introduced to Rhys very early, and he was drastically different from the groups, standing out. He didn't really agree with their beliefs, and he didn't come from a rich family. Him and Joe actually had similar backgrounds, and he wrote that book that Joe really resonated with, and I'll get to that later. So yeah, about the book, I'm gonna touch on that a little bit later because it'll all make sense. And then every time Rhys appeared on camera, he was only seen conversating with Joe. That was the only time that we've seen him communicate with another person, except when he was on TV. And when he was at the funeral, the theory is that Joe could have easily been hallucinating Rhys talking. You know what I'm saying? Because he wasn't actually talking to anybody directly and having conversation. He was just talking to the people at the funeral. So Joe could have easily been hallucinating that. That's a little iffy, I guess you could argue, but it gets better here. Rhys was never shown interacting with another character, like I just said. Whenever each character was killed, Joe was unconscious, okay? So the first night he was on drugs, alcohol, whatever, was passed out, woke up, the guy was on his table, right? The second night, or the second time, Simon was killed, and he woke up on a bench, asleep outside, right? Then at the other place, I forget what it was called, the big house, Gemma was killed, and that was right after he got pushed out of the window, right? Pushed out of the window and then fell unconscious. So that is very interesting to me, to how he was unconscious each time after or before those people were killed. Makes you think maybe hallucination. Also, Joe had a motive to kill each Malcolm, Simon, and Gemma. Malcolm obviously was with Kate. He clearly was coming on to Kate. Simon was manipulating those artists and taking the credit, taking all the money. Had motive to kill Simon. Joe did not like that. Gemma was bullying the people at the house, like making them do weird things, and Joe just hated her. Arguably, he hated her the most. So he had motive. The text messages. I believe that the text messages could be a hallucination as well, considering that the app that it was on was an app to where when you read the message, they disappeared. Easily could be a hallucination. And also, whenever he was at the bar with Rhys, they split a drink, right? They split a drink. I feel like Rhys pouring his cup or his whiskey into Joe's glass is like a symbolization of maybe Joe is just having a drink with himself at the bar. I feel like that could be hinting at a hallucination again. And the last point is honestly the most convincing point, in my opinion. Joe is not a sane person. Joe is a serial killer. Joe is an obsessive person. Joe, deep down, is still insane, no matter if he's changed or not, right? He is still the guy who's going to kill people to make his life better and to think that he's doing the good in his view of the world, which is not a good view. And I feel like he's still doing it. It makes sense that this could be all of his imagination, even with the stuff of locking himself into the jail. Like when Rhys was in the in the dungeon with Joe and Rold locked up. Rold was knocked unconscious. Rhys was not talking to anybody else, only talking to Joe. Another sign that he's not conversating with anyone else but Joe. Now, here's the thing. He's running for governor. He's on TV, all this stuff. So is Rhys a real person? I think yes. I think he's a real person. But I think he doesn't even know the group, has never talked to Joe in his life. And Joe read his book related to Rhys. So now he's correlating all these deaths with Rhys because it makes sense, blaming him, trying to frame Rhys, and secretly, without even knowing it because he's hallucinating it all, to try and convince himself that he's a good guy, he's changed, and this is not on him. That is my theory. And this makes sense because Love in the Part 2 trailer is shown, and she's holding Rhys's book, and obviously it's going to be a hallucination because Love is dead, I would assume. So they're hinting at hallucinations. This could easily be a hallucination. It'd be a good plot twist. It would be an enjoyable plot twist. It would explain why it was so predictable to find out that Rhys was the killer. It would explain all that. Because in my opinion, when I watched part 1, I guessed right away, oh, it's gonna be Rhys. He's an outlier. Joe agrees with him. All this stuff. They get along, and it just doesn't make any sense to be any of the actual friends. I guessed Rhys right away. It was kind of too easy. It was a good story, but it was like, this is a little bit too predictable. But if Rhys was just a made-up imagination of Joe's hallucination, and Joe's been the killer all along, that would be a good plot twist leading into season 5. Now, I don't know where it would go with this story, especially if like Love shows up as a hallucination. I think they would have like at the end of season 4, part 2, they would have like this big moment to where Joe is like looking in the mirror. He's like, oh my God, I did all of that. And then like he does something, and I don't know what he's gonna do. I'm trying to think of like possibilities. Like Love's obviously gonna be a hallucination. I feel like at that point he's either just gonna go like full on serial killer mode or go into hiding. If they're gonna have a season 5, I don't know what he's gonna do, but I feel like he has to die at the end of the series. I feel like, all of us can agree with that. I would hope. I feel like, I don't know, maybe not, I don't know, but I'm just saying, like, I think Joe is gonna die some way. I feel like he's gonna get caught or he's gonna die. He's either gonna be locked in prison for life or he's gonna die. I feel that's the only 2 outcomes for this show. Maybe he rides off into the sunset, but I think that would be a little bit of a bad ending for a show about a serial killer. But I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Let me know what you guys think would happen if they did go this route and he ends up finding out that it was him with the hallucinations. What do you think would happen with the story after that? Let me know in the comments, and let me know what you think about this theory, if you think it's realistic, if you think it's possible, and if you enjoyed part 1. If you have any other theories about part 2, leave them in the comments. I'd love to hear them. Love to hear theories. And yeah, guys, I appreciate you guys watching this video. Be sure to drop likes and subscribe. Turn on notifications. Join my Discord. Look at my podcast, Popcorn Talks Podcast. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have, guys. Appreciate you guys. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.